Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Let's have some fun today and talk about some potential starting centers that the Pacers could utilize for this year. Most of these are going to be trade rumors, but just kind of want to have some fun with this episode. And since there's really not a lot going on with the Pacers right now, ever since Miles Turner signed with the Bucks, not a lot of news have come out, rumors or anything, but just some interesting players that have been on the trade block, or just talking about some players that are already on the roster that could end up transitioning into a starting center caliber type of player. We're going to start with Nikola Vučević. Now, he's one that I think personally that the Pacers should go for, just because he's been wanting out of Chicago. They've already traded all of his teammates from the last few seasons, that very good play-in team, a team that just keeps on making the play-in year after year, and there's not really a lot of direction in Chicago. But Nikola Vučević is coming off averages of 18 and 10. He's a guy that has over 10,000 rebounds in his career. He started his career in Philadelphia, had that one season there before going to Orlando, and that infamous Dwight Howard to LA trade. A lot going on in that one. But I think Vučević is the kind of guy that can – he's not really a stat sheet kind of guy, so he's not going to average the most blocks. He's not really a 20, 25 point a game scorer. But in my opinion, he's a decently, somewhat a traditional center. Yes, he shoots threes, but it's not really his game. He's good in the paint. He is a decent defender. Sometimes he can be a liability, but he's also a good passer. That's kind of the thing with European centers. They tend to all be very good passers. I mean, obviously, Jokic, Valanciunas, in my opinion, is a really good passer. The Gasol brothers were always very good passers. All the way back in the 80s, Domantas Sabonis was a very good passer as well, even being 7'4". Now, a guy like Vučević, I think he would fit with the Pacers just because he is a guy that can grab rebounds. That's something that the Pacers need at the center position. We know that Miles Turner was honestly the worst rebounding center in the league, especially when the ball would just fall out of his hands and he would get out-rebounded by guards, by small forwards, as anybody. Nesmith averaged more rebounds than Turner did in the finals. Just not something that we don't need from a center. So just bringing in someone like Vučević, especially from a team like Chicago, where they really don't have a direction. Pacers are looking to see what can actually be done in 2025. So he's a good one. The only player that I'm talking about today that's actually on the team, Isaiah Jackson, his per 36 stats are actually very, very good. If he was actually playing Miles Turner minutes, this kid can grab 10 rebounds easily. He was already grabbing close to 7 playing the minutes that he did. He's also a very good shot blocker, someone that can easily fill that hole that Turner's leaving with the shot blocking. And just someone that can be a very good traditional center. He is not a guy that's going to shoot threes. He does not shoot threes. He's still a little iffy on the free throw line, but he is a good offensive rebounder, a very good rebounder. He's a very good shot blocker, like I said earlier. And he's just someone that can get you 10 and 10. He's a guy that can get you double-doubles when he plays the minutes. Out of Kentucky, we knew we had a backup center in him. He was drafted kind of like a power forward, but he kind of transitioned into the backup center role, especially after we traded for Siakam. We had Obi Toppin starting last season when we had Bruce Brown. Well, not last season, but right before we traded for Siakam, our starting lineup was Halliburton, Nembhard, Brown, Toppin, and Miles Turner. That was the 2023-2024 opening day starting lineup. I was at that game, so it was a very interesting team to look at, actually. But I personally think Isaiah Jackson has a future in this league, even if it doesn't pan out with the Pacers. He's a guy that can get himself a contract pretty much anywhere. Obviously, coming off that Achilles injury won't be the easiest thing to do, but he should be back, hopefully, by the time the season starts. But if he's not, a guy that you can potentially look at is Walker Kessler. Now, Walker Kessler's been on the trade block for a while. The Jazz are in a complete full-on rebuild. And while Walker Kessler is a young guy, and he's a very good center, he's also a traditional center. So he is a guy that's going to stay in the paint, not going to shoot threes, not going to shoot mid-range. But I saw games where Kessler was pretty much scoreless, but grabbing 17, 18 rebounds, which if you have scorers around Kessler, he is going to be a very dominant player in the post, in the paint. Just wherever you need him, he will be there. A guy that can get offensive rebounds. Like Jackson, he's also a very good shot blocker. He was one of the league leaders in blocks over the last few seasons. And overall, but the thing is, the Jazz do want a little bit of a haul for him. So if the Pacers really did want to go for Walker Kessler, probably give up a player, a few draft picks, and then we have that starting center. He obviously has been a starting center for Utah pretty much since his rookie year. He's played around some very good players, played around John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, but I think he is one of my favorite options that the Pacers could go for, just because he's young, he's got a future, he checks off all the boxes. I know the Pacers really like their spacers. They really like having three-point shooting centers, but I mean, you just really don't need that, especially when everyone around him can already shoot, and he's still someone that can play very good off the pick and roll. So, and the last one, I kind of wanted to have some fun with this one because I saw a comment on the last video talking about Sabonis. Honestly, why not? Why not bring him back? Just because Sabonis, the Kings don't know what they're doing, if we're being completely honest. That is a team that was third in the Western Conference only 2 seasons ago, and they completely missed the playoffs this year. Like, yes, they were in the play-in, but they missed the playoffs this year. That's really inexcusable. They had Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox on the same roster, and 3 seasons later, they're talking about, oh, we need a point guard. Well, you had 2 all-star point guards on the same team. The Kings are also the same team that gave up on Isaiah Thomas after only 2 seasons. So the Kings are not very good at dealing with point guards. So they're definitely going to be more focused on that rather than actually trying to keep someone. Now, Sabonis is their star player. We know this. He's an all-star. He's an all-NBA player. He's been the league leader in rebounds for years. Easy 13 boards a game. He's always been a good rebounder. He was a very good rebounder on the Pacers, which is the reason that Miles Turner didn't actually have to develop his rebounding game when Sabonis was on the team. But Turner was already in the NBA for 6 to 7 seasons before Sabonis even came here. So there's not really a lot of excuse there. Not even 6 to 7 seasons. Sorry, that trade happened back in 2017. It was only in the NBA for 2-3 seasons. But by the time Sabonis became an all-star, yeah, Turner had already been in the league 5 to 6 years because it took Sabonis a little bit longer than Oladipo, just because Sabonis was a lot younger when he got to the team. But obviously after the trade, and Sabonis went to Sacramento, when it comes to players, it was pretty much a win-win trade. Both teams came out very well when it comes to actual talent and actual players, because Halliburton is a heck of a player and Sabonis is a heck of a player. Now, what happened afterwards, what the front offices did with both teams after the trade, that's why the Pacers won that trade. Just because everything that happened after Halliburton came to Indy was very successful. But the Kings are now stuck in mediocrity, and that's not where they want to be, especially with an All-NBA level center. But I just think it would be a fun little discussion just to talk about. We obviously know what Sabonis brings to the table. We know how he was in Indy, became an all-star in Indy, was always one of our leaders, and just a very good all-around player, a triple-double threat at all times. People, between him and Alperen Şengün, they're both baby jokers. I personally like the way Sabonis plays, just because I think he's more all-around, and I just think he knows how to open up the game a little bit better than Şengün. And obviously Şengün's not on a trade block, so he's not really needed in this discussion, but just a little bit of a comparison. But I think Sabonis would be an interesting player to look at. Now, this is the most far-fetched one of all of these. Obviously, I don't think Sabonis will actually be traded to Indy. If he is, well, you heard it here. But, and then just a little bit last look at someone like Thomas Bryant. Now, I saw a lot of people disagreeing with the take that the Pacers should bring back TB. which I understand where that comes from. But I personally still think that there's space for him, at least as a backup. Now, if he did start some games that Miles Turner was out. Miles Turner had an injury in the middle of the season. When we first brought Bryant in, Bryant was starting a few games. His best games came as a starter. And obviously, he had that one game where he just wasn't missing when he came off the bench in the playoffs. And he's a good player. He's a guy. He plays with heart. You see, no matter what play he makes, he's always screaming. He's always getting excited, which is great. The way he plays is just with heart. He has talent. He's a good guy. But he's just someone that, like, yeah, maybe he's not your everyday starting center. But as of right now, the Pacers, they really can't afford to worry. Like, if they need him to start, they're going to have him start and just see what he can do. But at the end of the day, I would probably prefer these 4 guys that I talked about earlier. I would absolutely prefer these 4 guys to start. But we still got to see because no trade or anything has been really worked on. And also Isaiah Jackson is still returning from that injury. He's probably going to end up coming off the bench at first. But at the same time, Thomas Bryant still is unsigned, and we haven't brought him back. So that's a whole different discussion that I really can't talk about until something happens. Because if we don't bring him back, there's no need to even discuss if he ends up going somewhere else. But I had a lot of fun with this one. I thought it was cool just to talk about a few centers that would be cool to be starters in 2025 for the Pacers. Just because we need to figure something out. We just need to see what direction we're going in this year. And some of these players could be future options. Even if it's not this season, could be next season, or even by the trade deadline. So yeah, it's just kind of that spiel on that. But as always, this is Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Boom, baby, and go Sirs.